things aren't meant to be fair. I know you left me down and out, and now the river is red. Got the hit on your head. Should've buried your dead. Should've listened to me and said, oh, how little you know. You better watch out, my friend. When it goes dark, you better lay low. When it goes dark, you better lay You should've kept up on your end. Should've been there when you said I depended on you over and over again. You think I'll sit here and pretend I don't forgive, I don't forget. Let me tell you this, my friend. You better lay
Got a monster inside of me, you better watch out. If your enemies are road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets caught real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, loves of blood and gold. Always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel the force of party. If you start shit, you be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. No exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. I'll kill when I'm desperate.
There's a beauty in the way you're worn, and the sharpness of your thorns, so vibrant in the imperfections. In the pain there's something real, all that anger so concealed. Still you're lost in how to feel, just let me hold that severed world. The pieces feel so cold. All the tears won't bring it back to life. But hate will always grow. There's a beauty in the way you lay, and the way your color fades. You stand out now with your imperfections. Oh, it was never meant to fall apart. It was not supposed to cause us harm. But these days all I do is wonder, is it better now that we could start again? 'Cause in the pain there's something real, all that anger so concealed. Still you're lost in how to feel, just let me hold. Oh, that's severed world. The pieces feel so cold. All the tears won't bring it back to life. But hate will always grow.
Welcome, everyone, to a new edition of our regular scheduled programming. I'm Magic Mario, and we are going to be doing some reading of a fan fiction I wrote for a little indie number that is based off of a little game that happened to appear in the 90s, you know, about anthropomorphic animals and fighting, and trouble ensues, and you know that little Pokemon, that's what it is. And we're going to be using that as our base little fan fiction that I wrote. Um, and then we're going to be checking in periodically to see how Sea Dog VA is doing with his cyclothon. He's currently doing a thing to raise awareness and money for the IDF Foundation. They are using their usual scheduled programming to travel along Japan via bicycle, and they're heading from the northern region in Hokkaido, and they're going south to Tokyo, and that should take them approximately 14 days. They are currently in day 5, and they have managed to raise quite a bit of sum. So whenever you get a chance, go and check out their channel. They help out so many people who really they wouldn't get this kind of help otherwise. IDF Foundation helps out with people who have immune deficiencies, diseases that are very difficult to discover in the first place. They have very many symptoms. There's a lot of people that have struggling with issues that derive from this, and the problem is there's just not enough information. So what they do is they gather plasma from donation centers. They gather data from conferences and things, and let other doctors know about how this stuff works. And then they do what they can to also offset some of the costs for medical treatments and things, so that people who need the plasma and the medicines and stuff, they can get what they need to take care of their issues. This is a little different from an autoimmune deficiency. The immune deficiencies are where basically your blood cells do not work at all. In fact, you find yourself getting more and more sick all the time, and problems arise from that. So, that being said, again, welcome. If you guys haven't donated yet, go over to his channel. He's got a link up there to donate to, and we can get that rolling. Outside of that, we got a pretty cool story ahead of us. Before we do that, I'm gonna get my little shameless plugs out of the way, just so that we can say that we did, and no stone unturned, that sort of thing. Real quick here, gonna plop that up there. Sorry guys, it's not as fast as I like it to be sometimes, but there we go. This here little number is my webpage from Fourth Wall. Inside you'll see a list of the latest and greatest additions to my product line. Going there, you'll be helping me out and getting these good old quality merchandise that your hearts desire. We got anything from hats and shirts to hoodies. They come in different sizes and colors. They have different logos on them. They got hats and the cups and pillows. Pretty much anything to suit your needs. And that's go ahead and give that a good old look. That's Magic Mario 00 /shop at fourthwall.com. Anybody that subscribes to the channel will be given discounts depending on the difference in your level here. And you'll be given a little emote just for you guys for doing so. The discounts will also vary depending on the level of your subscription, but that will all be based off of that, um, starting at 20%. So, I mean, you can't really beat that. So, um, without further ado, let's get back to everything else. Also, I want to give a good shout out to Stream Elements. They hooked us up with all these graphics. Hopefully, you guys like my new little logos and artwork. I've been working on improving all these things all the time. They may look rough now, but they're only going to get better. So, we got other things in mind for the future. A lot of this stuff, it takes time. Unfortunately, I do work a 40-hour work week, so sometimes the stuff doesn't go as quickly as I'd like it to. But that being said, we're well underway. The things are going in a positive light. We'll have some unboxing content. We're going to try some drinks later in the month whenever we get the chance. We're going to be doing some more gaming. I got a bunch of different games to try. As long as the PC allows, we'll do what we can. We may even do some more art videos. We'll just see what we can see. I like to keep things whimsical. No need to, get boring into a routine. I feel like that's a trap that a lot of people get into. I know the big thing is to find your niche, but my niche is just doing what I feel. I'm just doing me. I'm just being myself here, and that's the best thing that you can do. But we're gonna go ahead and get right into the story. Now, there's a lot to this. If you're a Pokemon fan, you probably already know some of it. At least for typing and battles and all that. So it's a thing. But it's essentially a isekai. So just so you guys understand, it takes place in literally the year after the Pokemon League is founded, pretty much unanimously in each of the regions. And then it's also taking place inside of the Johto region. We start in a little town inside of Cherry Road City, on the very northern part of the town, closest to the woods. There's a little outpost area for traders and merchants and miners and things to get money, much needed items, and disperse them amongst one another. They got themselves. Think of a nice little area. Basically everything is wood and cobblestone. It's not fancy. We're just slightly above the way things was in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Just a little bit above that. Not much beyond, because there's still that feeling of unease around Pokemon and Pokemon trainers. That's all new to them. So most people, if they might have one for everyday work, but they don't typically, battle like that. And this area we've got is also got a mine that backs up to it. So there's a lot of little sprawling hills with the amber colored uh, grassy areas. Just the grass is always just basically burnt yellow. It doesn't normally get any better than that, just because of how open the hills are, and that all goes back towards the caves, mines, and mountains in that area. So that's where we're starting. Uh, but before we get to that, we have to get to the easy part. Basically, it was a day like any other day. We started, our usual. I wake up, roll over, out of bed, back hurts for no particular reason. Uh, I go and I stumble into the kitchen to make my morning gruel, pour myself the black sludge coffee that I like, and we get ready for another day of working our regular job, and we find ourselves, as we're getting ready to leave, we get hit by a green light, very bright green light, and the light fills the atmosphere, and for just a moment, everything stands still. Can't hear any sounds. All the birds seem to be completely quiet. You don't hear the wind, no rustling of the trees. It's just silent. And then we find ourselves engulfed in that green light. So much to the point that we can't even see the hand in front of our face. While we're in that brightness, it's a sickly light green color. So bright that you can't even make out what the actual color is, because color seems to be now missing in your head. You start noticing that some sensations are lost. You can't even move a finger. As we are in that light, you start to notice behind a brand new set of eyes, movement swirling all around us, as that movement becomes shaped and formed. And we know from before, from Pokemon of yesteryear, we've learned how to read the unknown language. And before us are the letters for the unknown, that says our world is gone. The one that we knew, at least. There was a time where, like strands on a mop, each universe had its own individual strand. But for some reason, ours got twisted with another. And in that twisting, there was a change. And that change caused our worlds to collide, to combine. But as one world stayed as it normally does, the other one wrapped around it, it became the one that no longer exists. So you and I, we've all got transformed, changed to be a new person. And these unknown, they let us know that we are safe and that we are welcome to fade to existence with the rest of the our universe, or we can choose a new life. And of course, as human beings, we choose to survive as best as we can anyway. And we go for the best that we can with the best of intentions to take this new life and use it for the better. And so I wake up one morning, cool autumn leaves blowing in the wind all the way around. That crisp, cool air touches your skin as I wake up because I left the windows open. But when I woke up, I found myself in a new body, a younger body, a body that is something more closer to when I was a teenager. And I also noticed that I was in a house that I never seen before. Most of the walls were bare for the most part, except for the few pieces of artwork that my brothers brought home, some posters. And these posters had inscribed on them various championships to become a gym leader's trainer, basically a gym leader apprentice. My older brother happened to have himself a fighting type Pokemon Machop as his starter Pokemon. And he got known in the town that we was in for helping out all the people around town, him and his Machop, doing odd jobs wherever he could, because he felt like it was up to him to become somebody that could protect the town. And so strewn about were these posters of the newly formed Elite Four and his Pokemon as a Machamp plastered on the poster. Lord Eno, the fighting Elite Four champion, was there up on that poster. Now, being in a new place, I was quick to jump to my feet and try to figure out what was going on, still having a mindset of an adult. But then I noticed something strange, like a mental fog, and things that I could remember up to that point just seems to poof into thin air. There isn't even a whisper of the things that I could remember before. It's like my time from being in the world as we know it, it ceased to exist. So all my knowledge prior to all the Pokemon games I played before, gone, just like that. And with that sensation, the only thing that remained was the want to be the best. And that's where we start our tale. And I find myself going down the stairs. And the first thing I see is a giant, sizable, old Magmar who was helping my father take care of the meal for our home/restaurant that we lived in. And inside of that restaurant, you would see miners, travelers, merchants, stuffing their faces with whatever delectable treats and foodstuffs that my father would have made. And then in another room, detached, my younger brother would have been, he would have been little. Just a boy. Going about listening to whatever talk was going around town. Just getting into little mischief that little boys do. And my father told me that your idiot friends were looking for you. Why don't you go meet them? They said they would meet you out in the fields out back. And this is where chapter 1 begins. The Cherry Grove boys. You see, each one of us, all 4 of us, we were some hyperactive, idiotic misfits in town. The only ones around our age. And yet, for some reason, fate designed that we would be together still, even in this new world. And me and the boys, we was playing out in the fields, the hills, the valleys, and our buddy, Mr. Tim, decides that he's going to start chucking rocks because he's impulsive, and that's what he does. And after he throws one, he ends up hitting something. And angers a psychic Pokemon, Abra, wakes it up, and it teleports him somewhere else. We don't know where he went. And all of us were frightened because Pokemon were new. Pokemon were wild. The wars just ended, and trainers had just started to emerge. So we didn't know what to think. Survival was hard. Survival would be harder. While Pokemon would see people as a threat still, just the same as people would see the Pokemon as a threat. That would be instilled even in children. All of us, around that 13-year-old age, didn't have a Pokemon yet. And so me and the remaining two boys, we decided we was going to try to go and find him, but we didn't have any idea of how to do that. So we went to the local Pokemon Center. And inside of it, we met a nice young man who claimed himself to be a Pokemon researcher. And he was looking to research the Pokemon in the woods out back. And he said he could use some extra hands. And we felt that it was necessary to help him out, because maybe helping him out would also help us find our friend. And since he also happened to have Pokemon with him, it made sense for us to go. So we did. And we found ourselves going out west, or east, out east to the forest just south of the mountains, where the Pokemon seem to be the most wild and untamed. And the professor decided that he should allow us to each catch a Pokemon if we could. Now, none of us had caught Pokemon prior. It was brand new. And these Pokeballs, they were just barely better than those ones in Arceus. It'd still be those apricorn textured Pokeballs. Probably be, pretty rough to wield at first. But the only thing that's a little different is between these ones and the other ones is these ones would be a little bit lighter, maybe in color and in composition. And so as we went off with the professor, the researcher, into the woods, and were given these Pokeballs, we tried our best to find something. Anything. Because we knew if we got at least one thing out of that forest, it would be, the best. You wouldn't be able to find a Pokemon that strong anywhere else. Not too many places would have had Pokemon that strong, just from the get-go. But for some reason, we all got to go. We all got to try. None of us succeeded. First one to try was Chris. Energetic man, tall, lanky teenager. He ended up giving it a good old chuck at a Geodude. It was just roaming the plains without a Pokemon. He was too rough, too sturdy to even try to capture. And, well, crack. The Pokeball's gone. No Pokemon to be found. The second one was our buddy Zach. He went ahead and tried it on something sensible, like a bug. So he tried to catch himself a Spinnerack. It was in the tree, just napping. No dice. He missed clearly. Nobody knew where the Pokeball went. It was just gone. And then, literally an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you could feel the sun just being straight overhead. Even though we was inside of that forest, we could tell. It was noon, and I knew it was my time to try. So we did our best to find anything. And I found me a little Pidgey just sitting on a rock. And I chucked it, hurled it, complete whiff. Gone. The Pokeball was gone. We didn't even know where any of that went. All three of us, not a single one, managed to catch one. Unfortunately, the researcher didn't have any more Pokeballs for us. He said, "Boys, just bad luck." Bad luck indeed. Little did we know what was going to unfold. You see, for Tim, he teleported to someplace unique, different, a place where time had forgot. And he found himself at an altar with one Pokeball, moss covered. Looked like the sun beating down on the color just made it fade to that light reddish pink color. And he went to go pick that Pokeball up. And little did he know that he wouldn't be able to pick. He was the only one that would be able to pick it up. It was like it was a Pokemon just fit for him. But he would try to send it out. The Pokemon inside. He wouldn't answer to him. He wasn't ready yet. And in that secluded area at that altar were ghosts of every kind. And they all surrounded him. You see, he had to undergo a test. Test of courage. See, the ghost Pokemon wanted to know what his intentions were before they just let him walk away with one of their comrades. So you would see Mischievous and Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar, Shuppet, Bayonet. Every single ghost Pokemon that you can think of was there. Like it was a meeting place. Now, Tim had thought that Abra sent him someplace so that he would get attacked. But little did he know, it was just someplace that he was fated to be. Sometimes the fates, they take things into their own hands, you see. And with that, he got him self-tested. They signaled to him to follow. So follow he did. They opened up a special corridor just for him. And so he went in. He was scared. He felt alone. He didn't even know if he was going to make it out alive. A young boy at 12 wasn't sure about anything. He didn't even remember anything from his past life. Didn't set a goal or a dream like I did. But he was brought here just the same. But in he went. Because forward was the only thing that he knew was where he needed to go. So one step after another, webs everywhere. You got Zubat flying off in the distance. You could hear them, but you couldn't see them. It was dark, pitch dark now. No light shining through anywhere. Just the faint glow of the ghost Pokemon that he was meant to follow. And inside, there were 3 objects laid upon the floor before him. A knife strewn with rusted blood on the blade. A pot or vase just sitting in the middle. Clay, nothing to it, nothing special. And then on the right, was a mirror. And he was expected to choose. He could choose and choose wisely. So he didn't know what the blade represented. The pot was just an old porcelain pot. And the mirror, he just thought it was a mirror. He didn't know what any of this meant. But knowing him, he picked up the one thing that he thought was looking a little too ordinary. He thought that if he picked the mirror, he thought that it was going to resemble himself. And he picked the blade, he thought it was going to represent aggression, in which he picked a pot. And with that, the Pokeball that he was holding on to clicked. And out came a single Pokemon with very little light to show its presence. You see, the pot was actually an old lamp, just been broken, and it held within it a lit wick. So he got to choose his first partner Pokemon, just like that. If he would have chosen the blade, he would have gotten himself a Hondedge. And the mirror, well, the mirror contained Ghastly, but a special shiny form. But he didn't know about any of that. And after that, he found himself passing out. And then in the middle of the woods, just right outside of where we were, right near a waterfall. Now, me and the other two guys, along with the researcher, we went further into the forest and found the waterfall where he was at. But he was unconscious. His body felt cold. Cold as ice. And then, just then, we saw the Litwick breathe life into him. You see, he was taken to a realm of the ghosts. And he was gifted the privilege to sense when ghosts are around. A low psychic power manifesting inside of him. Now that we got that going, we quickly did what we could to bring him back to town. It took him a week before he came to. None of us guys knew what to do without him leading the way. We felt lost. We felt like we weren't special because we were powerless, you see, to do anything to change our destiny, change our fate. So we did what anyone else would do. We were mad. We were upset. Each one of us went our way, different ways. Me back into the hills, just mulling over everything that we had seen and everything that we had learned. And in my anger, after tripping, I grabbed the nearest thing next to those woods, just like Tim did, and I threw whatever the thing was that made me trip. And without thinking and without a second thought, I realized at the very end of throwing it, it was a Pokeball. And that Pokeball made a loud click noise out in the middle of the woods. Now, I was all by myself, no Pokemon, no one else around. But I thought, well, it was just in the fringe of the forest. How bad could it be? So I went and tiptoed in the wood line, looking around, making sure not to disturb any Pokemon. Didn't see anything. And as I crept into the line even further, there was a giant tree to the left. And just beyond the root of that tree, there was the Pokeball I threw. I grabbed it and tripped a little over the root of the tree and made a loud noise when I fell. Unfortunately, there was an Ursaring just behind that tree, and he was taking a nap. And guess who woke him up? Just this kid who has no experience, and he got up, towering above me much, much more than the average Ursaring. Clearly, this was a special Ursaring, quite big, bigger, almost as big as the tree was. And me, well, I had to back away. I couldn't do anything to something like that. And as I started to back away, this Ursaring started stomping towards me around the tree. He puts his big old claw along the tree, knocks it down. Me, I didn't know what to think. I thought, man, this might be the end of me. So, I chucked that Pokeball. That Pokeball opens up. Out pops out this teeny tiny little grass Pokemon. An Oddish. It was just as afraid as I was to see a giant Ursaring right there in front of us. Now, this Oddish, just in reaction, decided to spray some acid at this giant, very upset Ursaring. Now, if you know anything about the move acid, well, it only made things worse. Because you see, he didn't take kindly to that. He did one swipe of his paw and knocked that Oddish clear back. And while he knocked it away, he knocked it right into me as I fell over. And boy, that was a rough day. Our best buddy got hurt, and we didn't know if he was going to come to. I was excited because I caught my first Pokemon by accident, but I was scared for my life. But just then, as I was about to be mauled by this enormous Ursaring, my older brother's Machop had evolved into a Machoke and tossed that Ursaring clear into the woods, about as far as you could see. When he did that Ursaring, he didn't want to play anymore. So it decided to give one final roar of a Hyper Beam straight at him. But you see, Machoke was too quick. So Machoke ducked down low, sweeping the Ursaring underneath its feet and knocking him down, knocking out the Ursaring clear cold. And then I passed out just like that. And that's where we're going to take our first break. We'll come back to it, and we'll do more here in a bit. So stay tuned.
better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me, and he gets cause real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score, never getting bored. Lots of blood and gore, always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel the force of body. And if you start shit, you be hard lived in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped, you be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. There's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. This world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. It'll kill when I'm desperate.
All day Looking pretty with no makeup. Let me take you to the city before we break up. One more night, girl, we won't fight. I just want a little break from the hard times. Every day you gave me a flat line. You would say it's always a bad time. Anyway, I chase like the last time. How to break away when you were on my mind.
But I don't think I'm ever getting past her. All day, you and me
back to it. Alright, everyone, we are back. If you were here a little bit ago, we were telling a fan fiction story about Pokemon, a little fan fiction that I wrote. And it takes place in the Johto region, just a little bit outside of Cherry Grove City. We are in a time literally just one generation after the first initial creation of the Pokemon League. So there's a brand new champion, brand new Elite Four trainers, and a good drove of trainers that are just emerging. But this is literally after the Pokemon Wars had ended, so everyone is a little hesitant to become a Pokemon trainer. And with that, they started this program where they're not quite sure what they want to do with these Pokemon, these trainers. But for young people like us, well, the world's our oyster. We just wanted to become the best. In the story, up to this point, our buddy Tim got abducted by a bunch of ghosts. After hitting a Abra with a rock, it caused a bunch of issues where these Pokemon, they sent him to an unknown place with an altar. And that altar had a Pokeball. And after facing a trial, which he was led by some ghosts to take, turning back to him meant certain death. So the only path for him was to go forward. And with that, he had a choice to make. Before him were three options: a blade, a pot, or a mirror. And he chose the pot. But you see, that pot used to be an old lantern. It was just broken. So if he would have inspected it closer, he might have noticed. But he didn't want to grab the blade because he didn't want them to think he was being aggressive. And he didn't want to pick the mirror because he didn't want it to see himself as someone who's vain. So he picked the most ordinary choice. And that choice gave him a Pokemon, Litwick. But unfortunately, with that encounter, it caused him to pass out. Now, me and my friends, Chris and Zach and myself, were escorted by a Pokemon researcher we met inside the Pokemon Center. And he led us on an expedition out into the wilderness just east of where we were. And it was said in those woods there was the strongest and most powerful Pokemon that anyone's ever known. And that no one was to go back there by themselves. But we accompanied this man, He was a kind man. He gave us Pokeballs to try to catch whatever wild Pokemon we could encounter. And with some luck, we may had got ourselves some partner Pokemon. Unfortunately, that wasn't in the cards. So, on our journey, we happened to find our buddy Tim collapsed right before a giant waterfall. And with that, we found him passed out. And the Litwick, standing right next to him, breathed life back into him. As we approached him, he was solid cold as ice. And we knew we needed to do something and take him back. So we did. Feeling scared and angry, me and the guy as well. We didn't handle that very well. So I was out into the hills just north of the house. And I ended up tripping over something. And I got mad. I picked up that thing I tripped over. And I chucked a Pokeball that I didn't realize was a Pokeball. Until I threw it. Ended up catching a Oddish and upsetting a very angry Ursaring, waking him up while he was taking his nap. But because my older brother was around, he ended up fighting off that Ursaring with his Machoke, which had evolved from his Machop. And with that, I passed out just from the sheer fear and exhaustion from what just occurred. And this is where the story changes. Because now we are going to be focusing on the other two. Zach and Chris. You see, Zach and Chris, they lived in a couple of houses that were next to each other. Townhouses, so to speak. They were big, gray, wooden houses. Looked completely identical, just mirrored. And, well, inside of the household with Chris, well, he didn't know what to do. So he was just walking around the houses, just trying to get his frustrations out. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to make of any of it. But then he noticed some rustling around the trash cans across the street. So he crossed the road and found himself a little Apom. It was a small, scraggly little thing. That didn't seem to be much, but it was very spirited. And fortunately, Chris, he didn't know what to make of it. He just thought he might have found himself a friend. And so Chris, being the person he is, offered to give this little bitty guy some food. So he went to his home, grabbed something, some fruits, fresh fruits, and gave it to the Apom. Now the Apom was internally grateful and just followed him around everywhere. Climbed up on his shoulder, in fact. And from that point, they were going to be buddies. A team. And in his excitement, he literally opened up the door to Zach's place by accident. he was going to tell his folks what happened, but, well, wrong door. So, unfortunately, he ran right into Zach. Now, Zach, he too also was just granted a Pokemon. You see, his older sister had been traveling a while, you see, and she had a few encounters of recent and gave him a Zubat. It was just an extra Pokemon she didn't really want to have the hassle to care for. So she thought it'd be funny to just, here you go. And that's how he got his Zubat. You see, she only wanted the rarest and the pretty looking Pokemon that there was. But Zubat was definitely not a pretty thing to her, so to Zach it went. Now that the two of them had found out that they have partners, well, it was time for them to make it official. So they both went to the Pokemon Center and registered themselves as trainers with the local Pokemon Center officials. They both got their licenses, and they were as proud as could be. Chris was given a Pokeball so they could keep the Apom in it to make it official. And Zach, well, they couldn't wait to try out their new partner's abilities. So they went out back, just a little flat, plain area. Just a little open field. Nothing too special. And they was going to have themselves a battle. Little did they know how much devastation that one little battle was going to cause. The battle ensued. They both unleashed their Pokemon, the Apom versus the Zubat. Now, the Apom still being the scrawny little thing, but it was an eager, scrawny little thing, and decided to taunt Zach and a Zubat by smacking its rear and sticking out its tongue. Of course, neither one of them could help but laugh seeing something like that. The Zubat, not looking much different than any other Zubat, was incredibly fast. Faster than any other flying Pokemon they'd seen. With the ability to move around so fast, sometimes they had a hard time keeping their eye on it. And it had so much energy, it just couldn't be contained. It just was flying around everywhere. And Zach issued some supersonic moves to try to get the first drop on the Apom, which the attack unfortunately missed. But it hit another target. An old lady's grand bowl was sitting out back around the corner, and in its confusion began to rampage and started to thrash the neighborhood, knocking over carts, destroying doors, windows, walls, and siding. the local Pokemon police came out and had put the Grand Bowl down. They had a Pokemon, Ariados, use a poison jab direct, killing the Grand Bull instantly. And yet, unfortunately, those that were responsible had no idea. They continued their battle, but didn't realize what was going on until it was too late. So, Chris, having Apom use a swift attack 1, 2, 3 times, that Zubat was looking pretty ragged. The Swifts kept smacking into him, always hitting their target. But Zach had one last ditch effort and kept using some flying moves. Good old wing attack. 1, 2, 3. Another couple of hits in, and the Apom was worse for wear. You could see in his fur as it started to lose strands. The fur on the ground out back. Now, Chris had one last ditch attack and decided to use counter on the Zubat, rendering the Zubat unable to move. Clear victory for the Apom and the young lad, Chris. A decisive victory. By the time the battle ended, there was a mob of townsfolk who just found out who the culprit was to all the destruction that took place. Well, the boys had some explaining to do. You see, Pokemon battles, they were permitted so long as they weren't within city limits. Now, they thought they was far enough that it wouldn't be a problem. But unfortunately, the results said otherwise. They lost their trainer licenses. They were suspended for at least a month. And they had to repair all the damage that they caused themselves. Now, the lady that lost her Grand Bowl, she wanted these two to lose a Pokemon too. After all, she lost a Pokemon that she had for many years. And it wasn't a Pokemon that ever caused it any trouble whatsoever. But yet, unfortunately, it was taken out before it was even allowed to do anything. Sad tale. Tragic, some would say. But that meant those two, well, they needed somewhere else to go after all of that. So the two of them, they crashed at Tim's place, just west from where my place was. Now, his place was old. It was a stone building, nice and clean on the outside. Very, very cool and calming place. It's the type of place that is very unassuming. Many people, they just always seem to not be able to find their way there. It's a strange little phenomenon that was happening there, but they couldn't ever explain why. They thought maybe it was just a little rogue Pokemon playing tricks on people. But boy, could they not figure out what the truth was. It's all rumored. Nobody knows for sure what's going on. With Tim just starting to recover after everything that went down, and the boys getting in trouble, it was only time till that trouble was going to grow and build as the days passed. Now I finally came to, and with a Pokemon in hand, was just learning the ropes. You know, how do you take care of a little grass weed Pokemon? It's only got the couple of moves. What do you do in that situation? Well, I decided it was time to train. So I went up close to the old abandoned mines where there were plenty of large rocks and boulders strewn about. Lots of old mine carts and things were left behind. A lot of rails and ramps going every which way. And there were a few Pokemon in the cave and around the area, but they seemed to be just minding their own business. So I was deciding to strengthen the Oddish's acid attack to try to increase its strength and viscosity. So we kept trying to melt the boulder with the acid. 1, 2, 3, 4 shots. And it didn't really seem to be doing much more than that. The boulder still stood, stained with the acid shots. And then it occurred to me that maybe I should try some of its other moves. And then just in that moment, for some reason, part of my memory came back that maybe, just maybe, this Oddish could know a move like Razor Leaf, Cut, Absorb. So within that brief moment, remembering these things, not knowing why I remembered them, I end up practicing these moves to see which ones the Oddish could perform. Now, this Oddish was not capable of doing too much, but it could do a very powerful Razor Leaf attack, splitting the boulder in half. Unfortunately, that attack also scared off some of the local Pokemon. See, this little thing, what it lacked in its defense, had overwhelming offensive power. It was capable of performing quite a many of feats. The absorb attack that it had wasn't much to be desired, but it was there, and I learned it. Oddish learned it, and as we fought, we kept noticing something. As we trained, not only was it growing tired, but I was too, in my struggle, in my fight. We noticed more and more, the more that I had Oddish do, the more that I too was also feeling the strain from. I then went back home just to see what people had thought about that. Because trainers in Pokemon, they were always seen separate. But for some reason, the more I would command that Oddish, the more drained I became as well. It was like my energy and the Oddish's energy were in sync. Whenever it felt afraid, I was afraid. Whenever I felt scared, it was scared. When I was tired, it was tired. For some reason, we had shared some kind of connection, and I wasn't sure what that meant. But I wasn't sure how to explain it to anyone either. It was a phenomenon all to itself. How could you explain something like that? Now, people used metaphors before about trainers and Pokemon and the energy you put towards it, but it was a little deeper than that for some reason. It was a little more in depth than that. As we grown together, as we worked together, we could feel a change. It was like, for some reason, I could hear its thoughts, and it could hear mine. And then something wild happened a few days later. The sky lit up, and in the middle of the town, nearest the Central Park, there was a flash of blue light, real low, gone unnoticed by many, except for the Pokemon. They knew something happened. And in that, the Oddish that I'd been training woke me up to try to tell me something, but I didn't know what was the problem. So I just followed it. And out of that blue faint light was a giant circle with lines all within it, and men jumping out of the portal. And these men, they didn't dress like anybody that was from that era. They looked different. bazaar, they had fancy futuristic devices. They had Pokeballs that we never seen. They had all kinds of machines and other gear and transportation that came through the portal. And then they set up base just right outside of town, just beyond Tim's house was a fortress that was accruing of all these men. I followed them. I followed them to their base. But I didn't know what to make of any of this. Down came a giant metal door, hiding all of them and their activities within. So, what did I do? I went and I told our friends at Tim's place. Of course, unfortunately, I was stumbling about. And unfortunately, I didn't make it there directly. Feeling disoriented, I had to trust in Odysseus's navigating skills. And it took me right there to the house that Tim lived in. As if it didn't have any problems navigating around there. Now, I didn't think anything of it, of course. But we managed to get there, and we started talking with Tim and the guys about what I saw. And being trainers, new trainers, in fact, we knew exactly what we needed to do. We needed to tell somebody about what we saw. We needed to let the authorities know. But how do you explain to people about machines they never seen? Doing activities that you didn't even know if that were a problem or not. Well, me and the guys, we decided that we was going to take things in our own hands if these adults weren't. But we at least told the researcher we met before. We bumped into him in the park. And we told him that what happened. And he told us to meet with him the day after in the morning. He was going to meet with another prospective researcher and trainer. And that we was going to assist him in dealing with these mystery guests, mystery invaders. After all, if there was something going on, they needed to have an adult to verify it, if any of it was true. None of the police, they didn't believe what was going on. None of the adults were listening. They just thought us kids were being, a bunch of mischievous children. So we went the day after. Sun was barely rising. Still a little dark. He was out there in that park where the researcher that we was working with met with another fellow, a young man, tall, wearing a white lab coat. Said he was another researcher, a Pokemon professor. And he said he was collecting a database on all these Pokemon. An encyclopedia. He had sketches of these Pokemon, but he didn't have any definable data. So we were asked to help him out in filling in this data as we journeyed. These Pokemon indexes, they didn't have anything in them. Just rough sketches of random Pokemon that he'd seen. Now, we didn't know what we was getting involved in when we were asked. After all, how many Pokemon could be out there? Now, unfortunately, these shadow figures, well, they weren't going to just sit around and do nothing and wait. They had plans, ambitions, goals, and it was about to make the whole town of Cherry Grove City theirs. So, what did they do? They ended up taking the park. North, south, east, west, all roads were blocked. There were heavy metal machine created walls, metallic walls, blocking all the major roadways. Nobody in, nobody out. Some fishermen were out on the sea just south, but they weren't any threat to these guys. These men showed up, 6, 7 men, large. One large, one tall, lanky, and then 3 average sized men, and one person that was standing in there with them. Well, they were the type of person that you just, for some reason, wouldn't notice. It's like he was looking right past them and they didn't exist. Well, the professors, the researcher, well, they happen to be trainers too. And they weren't about to just let the city come to danger. So they did what they could. The one man, the professor, Professor Cedar was his name. He dropped out a scyther, and the other man, researcher Sprout, ended up sending out a graveler. Now, 2 of the bigger fellows, they just laughed. The thin man, he end up sending out a Scrafty. And then the bigger fellow, he ended up sending out a Toxicroak. And then the battle ensued. A clear clash of power. Speed. The scythes of Scyther aching and itching, sharpening each other. Then the Graveler started rolling around the field, building up speed as he was rolling around. Smashes directly into the Scrafty. But the Scrafty didn't seem too damaged by that. And ends up drop kicking it, causing it to leave a dent into the ground, slowing it down and stopping the movement. Then the professor had the Scyther use an aerial ace attack, slashing along the front chest, leaving a massive gashing scar on the Toxicroak. Doing so caused the Toxicroak to spit up some deep purple gunk, which landed directly on the Scyther, poisoning it. In the poisoned, weakened state that Scyther was in, you could see on its face writhing in agony and pain. Now, it wasn't looking too good. After all, this was only one Pokemon in. And we didn't know if the other guys had anything as powerful as what they were using. Could we help in any way? Could we even do anything? Just then, over the loud radio, 4 of these men were told to go to different locations around town to secure the area. No civilians could evacuate. So one went to the north, one to the west, one to the east, and one to the south. Divided. Now, unfortunately, the one that went unnoticed, well, he wasn't unnoticed by everyone. There was a big, burly man. Seemed to be in his late 40s. Bit more muscular in tone. You could tell he was a hard, trained warrior. Well, he didn't like that this guy was causing some trouble in his neighborhood, and followed the one that went south. Now, me and the guys, we also followed him, because we wanted to know why we couldn't recognize him, couldn't notice him. Well, we followed this big burly man, because after all, he should be able to keep us safe if we need it to be. Well, the problem is, that man wasn't actually a man. He was a woman. and she was using a Pokemon to disguise herself. You see, she liked to play tricks. She liked to hide in plain sight. She had herself a Zorak. And well, the big burly man, he didn't see it as a problem, and there was a reason for that. That Machamp that I saw on the poster was now standing tall right in front of me, looking in a way that I've never seen before, with its mighty arms stretched out, slamming to the ground this Zorak. Causing all the wind inside of its body to be pressed out, knocking it clean and cold. The lady, in disgust, decided to send out her backup Pokemon. So you got some strong meathead to protect you, she said. Well, that's not gonna stop me. So she sends out her next Pokemon. Now, before us, well, the air around us changed. Got cold, bitter cold, and it started to snow all the way around us. She ended up sending out a large ice Pokemon, Glalie. This big thing before us, changing the literal weather all around us. Was smacked with a mighty punch from this Machamp, splitting it, causing it to explode in a million shards of icy crystals all the way around the area. You couldn't even walk on the ground without stepping on an icy spike. And unfortunately, this Glalie, it was not in any kind of shape to keep fighting if it wanted to live. The lady, she was frightened, terrified, started to beg, plead for her life. She couldn't see any way out of this. How could someone so strong be anywhere in the area? How could her luck be so bad? Well, she was apprehended by this man, tied up, bound by a rope, and then tied to the tree nearby. And this man knelt down to us and said, "You see what we had to do here? This is the type of power and level that you are going to have to meet. It's going to take a lot of hard work and effort to reach this kind of height. How could someone so simple, so young, meet the expectation like that?" Well, it's hard to say. So each one of us was asked to go a specific direction. 2 to the west, 2 to the east, while this man said he would take the professor and they would head north. And that's where we're going to take a break. Don't worry, there's more coming here in the future. So stay tuned.
Got a monster inside of me, you better watch out. If your enemies are road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets caught real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, loves of blood and gore. Always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel it for the party. And if you start shit, you'll be hard-lived in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You'll be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. No exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. No exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
saying. Yeah. Well, that's my point exactly. All right, everybody, we are back. I know it's been a long story session. As we just finished, we were doing our Pokemon fanfic that I've written, and the story that is written shall be roted and roted upon the annals of history. Now, we just finished being attacked by a random group of individuals, and that's where we just left off. And we just met the first world champion trainer, the Elite Four champion, and he gave us orders to pair up and split off into groups of two to the west, two to the east, and he and the Pokemon professors are going north. Now, well, me and Tim, we split out to the east. Chris and Zach, they went out west. Now, for Chris and Zach out west, well, there wasn't really a whole lot of buildings out there. Mostly just places that worked off the ocean. You know, collecting whatever they could do to make fine crafts. You know, lots of vases and pots and things like that, you know. Fletchers making nets for fishing and things. Things of the like. When Chris and Zach got there, though, there were 4 men in pirate garb, blue, with the with an insignia that is well, they couldn't tell what it was. And of course, just like with me and my memory, their memories were wiped too, so they couldn't remember anything. All they noticed was a couple of things. One, these guys were not happy that these 2 young lads were, potentially going to muck up their business, so they went on the offensive. They sent out 2 Poochyena back to back. And of course, Zach and Chris, they sent out their Pokemon. A Zubat and an Apom. Now, after their last battle, they were pretty hesitant because they didn't know what kind of damage they were going to cause. They didn't want to cause any more trouble. So, with that in mind, they tried to use all kinds of different tactics. Chris had his Apom use Double Team, creating after images of Apom everywhere. And Zach, well, his wing attack did hit its target, and it didn't seem to cause any problems before, so he had his Pokemon darting around, hitting these Poochyena left and right with attack after attack of wing attacks, cutting deep into the fur of these Pokemon. There was bits of fur here and bits of fur there, where each of these wing attack strikes were leaving their mark. Well, it was about time for some retaliation. course. And these Pokemon both simultaneously used a snarl attack, sending dark energy around them, hitting each of the Pokemon simultaneously, doing twice the amount of damage from both of them, which sent these Pokemon reeling. They never been hit by an attack so strong. How could two little Poochyena do such damage? You see, they underestimated their opponents a little bit. And unfortunately, there was two more that they had to deal with. How was they going to overcome such things? Well, fortunately, or unfortunately, Zach's sister showed up. And she, being the person that she wasn't going to stand by and do nothing. So she sent out two Pokemon herself. One, a Meowstic, and two was a Blossom. Two Pokemon evolved and powered up. And she, having experience in battles, well, did them in pretty well. Couple of shots here and there. Well, that's all it would have took. Well, unfortunately, these other two behind that were not involved in the battle, well, they had a little bit more powerful Pokemon. They had two Pokemon with much higher and much more devastating power. We got a Cloyster. Oh gosh. Cloyster. And a Milotic. These Pokemon, they were pretty... You could tell they were high level. They were just so powerful, so big. But, well, Zach's sister, she wasn't afraid. She'd been in several battles before. She wasn't about to shy away from this one. With a mighty confusion attack, she sent one of the Pokemon flying, the Cloyster, with a series of powerful psychic attacks. This Cloyster didn't seem to hold up too well, and unfortunately, it became quite, well, it became confused, attacking itself, rendering itself unable to battle. However, the Milotic was the one to watch for. And with a mighty attack, Hydro Pump, knocking out the Meowstic with very little difficulty. Now, it was a truly one-on-one battle. Milotic. You gotta deal with a Blossom. Type advantage. Surely she was going to win. With a mighty Petal Dance, bunch of flower petals flooded the field, leaving cuts, slashes along the scales, along the body of the Milotic. It was writhing in pain as these flower petals danced along the field. This Milotic, it didn't. It was definitely dealing with some serious damage. However, this trainer had it use recover. All the damage that was done was undone, just like that. And with a powerful ice beam hitting its mark, devastating the blossom. With very little energy left, the blossom cried out and ended up using a powered up energy ball, striking true on its target. The Milotic fell down, destroyed, knocked out, and rendered unable to battle. Now, back to the boys. Well, they're still fighting their Poochyena with a mighty slap and slam. The Apom knocked the one Poochyena down to the ground. With a mighty whimper, it cried as the damage was dealt, delivering a decisive blow. Now, there was truly 2-on-1 battle, but Zack ordered another attack, another string of blinding fast strikes with the Zubat's speed. This Poochyena couldn't even catch up in any way. 1, 2, 3, 4 wing attacks back to back. This Poochyena couldn't even respond. With the final strike, down went the Poochyena, writhing in pain, knocked out by the sheer amount of damage it's taken. These men ran away like cowards. Never have they ever suffered such a great defeat. And never had the boys tasted such a sweet victory. Now, back east, me and Tim, well, we had our own battle just about to begin it. Now, unfortunately, there wasn't very many people over on this side. 3 soldiers in armor with a unique insignia on it. Well, they unleashed some Pokemon that were a little tough. A Ponyard and a Bisharp were on the field, as the third guy, bigger, more seasoned, told these 2 men to take care of the light work. Now, me and Tim, we teamed up, joined forces. Tim's Pokemon, Litwick, well, it was pretty pretty strong after the ordeal that he went through. And gaining the psychic power he did, he could almost anticipate the attacks before they happened. With a shot of Will-O-Wisp hitting both the Bisharp and Poniard with separate little sparks of ghastly flames. They both suffering a severe burn throughout the battle. And my Pokemon, the Oddish, shooting a ton of acid attacks to try to cause these Pokemon to get caught stumbling. Completely forgetting all of our training. I was freezing up, not realizing what could truly happen. This is the first battle I ever been in, after all. How could I overcome such a obstacle as these two steel-type Pokemon? And I completely forgot that my emotions and the Pokemon's emotions were connected. So when I felt that way, so did the Oddish. Now the Oddish's attacks, they just didn't seem to go anywhere. And unfortunately, well, that Bisharp, it had a mighty strong Metal Claw, clipping some of the leaves on top of the Oddish's head. Oddish, in full fear, ran back to me, to the Pokeball, unfortunately leaving Tim to fend for himself. Now with a powerful fire attack, flamethrower, he was able to knock out the tiny Poniard. And now it was truly a one-on-one battle. The Litwick and Tim and his psychic abilities, and this man and his Bisharp. Well, the superior was not going to just stand by and take this. How could two kids cause so many problems? Well, you see, he wasn't gonna stand by and take that. He wasn't just gonna leave it be. He decided to take some decisive actions himself. So he stepped into the battle himself, sending out a massive Rhydon. This Rhydon, well, it had all kinds of scrapes and cuts and wounds on it from what seemed to be innumerable battles. And unfortunately, it was just Tim by himself. It was surmountable odds, after all. Two evolved Pokemon against one lone Pokemon by itself. But being a ghost type did have its advantages. After all, the Pokemon had been burnt. prior. So Tim, using his psychic power and working in cooperation with Litwick, used a mighty hex attack. A giant bolt of ghostly black flame engulfed the Bisharp, causing it to writhe, seething to the ground. Done. Burnt to a crisp. There was nothing remaining of the Bisharp. However, he still had a Rhydon to compete with. The Rhydon, using a Hyper Beam, well, it obliterated the Litwick in an instant. With a quick reaction, Tim recalled the Pokemon just shy of death. Well, both of our Pokemon were out now. What was we gonna do? Suffering such a one-sided defeat, after all. How are we supposed to overcome such a feat? Well, just like in the case with Zach and his sister, we also got some rescuing to occur for us. My brother with his Machoke showed up, stepping into the fray, and this Machoke looked ready for the challenge. How could it be afraid of something like that? A Rhydon. So with its power and its speed, this Machoke circled around the Rhydon. The Rhydon stomping on its ground, trying to show its strength and power. With a mighty kick, this Machoke causing the Rhydon to fall to the ground. Slow to get up, the Machoke kept landing strike after strike after strike, based on the difference in size and speed. This Machoke had the number of this Rhydon, had no time to recover, but with a mighty loud roar, it got back to its feet. Using a strength attack, it crashed its way through, charging right through the Machoke, knocking him down, causing it to stumble, having a hard time getting back up on his feet. An exchange of blows then ensued. One strike from Rhydon, one strike back from Machoke. Back and forth, back and forth. The battle continued with a decisive plan. This man with the Rhydon, he was one shot away from a complete victory. Maybe a few more bumps and bruises on his Rhydon, but he wasn't about to take this from some brat. So he had his Pokemon use a earthquake attack, causing devastation for all the buildings around the area. The ground split, cracked everywhere. There was destruction all over the place. No houses were left standing in the power of the earthquake. Of course, with Machoke's quick thinking, it detected the attack ahead of time and jumped out just out of harm's way of the attack, landing a powerful kick straight to the gut of the Rhydon, causing it to pass out. A victory, but at what cost? All the buildings, all the town, it was destroyed. The wreckage, the carnage that this battle had taken place, it was too much to handle. So they did whatever any logical person would do at that point. We all went to see if there was any survivors. Unfortunately, the rubble was just so immense. How could anything be standing after that sort of thing? But then, just then, out of fear, they worried about the worst, so they went north. The ones out west, also to the north. And there they found men in black were in battle with the champion and the two professors. The man in black, in anger, calling for a full retreat of all members. You will not forget the day of the organization of the grunts. See, these time travelers, little did we know, they invaded our space. See, when these organizations fell, well, their members had to go somewhere. And so the members, they gathered together from all the regions and made their own little club, their own organized crime syndicate. So all the members from each of the crime groups, they are all one, all together, with their different strengths and weaknesses. The execs, they weren't going to just stand by and watch their organizations crumble to the ground. So with the men that they had and the resources, they decided it was time to try. And try they did. So these grunts from Team Rocket, Team Magma, Team Aqua, Team Plasma, all of them decided to be one, and they said they were coming and they were going to come back. So quickly they jumped into their vehicles and left the area, or so everyone thought. Because seemingly that fortress, well, it disappeared. was no longer at that area. And for some reason, people could find Tim's house just fine now. Why could we not find the house before? What was going on with these members that was causing such catastrophe? Well, either way, the town, the city, it was in ruins now. Just rubble, really. Well, there wasn't much good that came from any of it, was there? These boys ready to make their work on the world, make their mark, go do the gym leader challenge and prove themselves. Well, found themselves in a bit of a mess themselves. So, with what little remained, they gathered what they could, healed up the Pokemon that were injured with some medicine that they had lying around, and they were given some advice by the trainer, the champion. He said, "You boys have learned a valuable lesson today. In real life, real things happen. And sometimes these things that happen to good people. And they happen because of the actions that we do or do not take. But don't let this harden you. Gather your strength, your courage, and go through the Gym Leaders Challenge. Only through that will you gather knowledge and learn what it means to be a true trainer. To learn what it means to be strong." He also advised that we split off in different locations to gather new partner Pokemon so that we could have backup the next time things go grim. And that is where we're going to leave the story. Now, I hope you guys have had a good evening with all this. It's a little different telling a story person to person than it is to just read text from a script, you know. I wrote a actual book for this, and it's much different than me be able to just recite it word for word. So basically I just compiled it and tried to tell it as a story as if it actually happened. Give you guys a little bit of that little extra depth, you know. Well, I hope you guys had a good time either way. I know it wasn't much, but it was just something to switch things up a little bit. Things can get a little stale if you're only doing one thing every single time. And I like to, well, again, I'm just me. I like to mix it up. I like to try to do new things and, you know, keep it fresh. But I hope all y'all had a very good time. I had a good time telling the story. If you're catching me on YouTube, again, welcome. Thanks for being here. If you made it this far, I hope the story was good to you guys as well. tomorrow night we will get back to. Well, we'll decide what I. Well, we'll see what I decide. Unfortunately, again, I'm a little bit like that. I like to just leave it to whatever the fates decide. You know. I can eliminate at least one thing. It's probably not going to be a song and dance number. Sorry, I'm doing you guys a favor and not doing that. But yeah, I've really had a good time. I've shared the story with y'all just because I love Pokemon, and as a kid I always grew up seeing myself as a trainer, but as an adult, when I look at these things, sometimes things can just get messy, you know. And there's a reason why these trainers have rules in the future, you know. There's a reason why you battle outside of the city limits. There's a reason why you don't, you know, battle in someone's house like that. There's a few rare occasions where you do in the games, but for the most part, you're normally just battling people outside. You're normally just hitting up, you know, random routes and stuff, you know. That way you're out of earshot from the populace. Now, there's gyms and stuff that you can battle in, you know. But these are like the exceptions to that. So I just tried to play on that a little bit about why do we do it that way, you know. Give a little bit of precedent for how things normally work throughout the Pokemon world. But yeah, we had a good time. Again, check out my website. Get you some fresh merch. One of these days we'll have the run of it. We'll have all of it so that you guys can check it out and see what we got. But as always, I'm happy you guys are here. I had a good time, and we'll do it again soon. Again, that cyclothon's still going on, so check it out. It's on CDog VA's channel. If you got money to give and donate, do so. If you don't, donate plasma. That helps a lot. There's a lot of places in the United States that will pay you for your time, and usually it's a decent amount, and you're helping out a good cause either way. So yeah, peace.
When I'm blue, I think of you in your eyes, how they look at mine, so kinda like that. You slow down time and everything's just fine. I was ocean swimming with just wishbone, thinking of my
What sucks is though.